Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. I'm ACated and this is my build. So today's build is a Willow Creek build, which I don't think I've made one yet. So yeah, I guess this is my first one. Anyways, so this is supposed to be a commercial lot, and then I'm going to be redoing all the commercial lots that are in this neighborhood, the little downtown neighborhood in Willow Creek. So I'm going to be building a cafe, a bar, a restaurant, and then either a library or a museum, although I haven't decided exactly which one yet, although probably a library. This one is the cafe, so I sort of split it into two sections. One section's more of like a New Orleans kind of French cafe, and then the other one's more of like a Caribbean or Cuban style. I was imagining that one side could be the bakery part and then one side could be the cafe part, but it didn't really turn out like that, which it's okay, it's fine. So the bakery and the cafe are sort of just mixed around between the two. I don't know if it's very weird because it's completely two different cafes, but they both function as cafes. I wish that we had split lots in The Sims, kind of like the for rent, but for commercial lots. Because the residential rentals are really cool, but you can't do that with commercial lots, and that makes it annoying if I want to have multiple buildings on the same lot. This cafe can also be a small business venue, which there's a kitchen in the build, and then there's lots of other things that could be small business stuff, so you could definitely do that if you wanted to. I also built the upstairs, but I feel like the upstairs isn't really that useful. Like if you got rid of it, it wouldn't really do anything. I was very tempted to just fill the upstairs with nothing and just pretend that it's just a facade, I guess. But I decided to fill it with stuff. You don't really need it though, so if you wanted to get rid of it and turn it into a small business residential, you could definitely do that, and that's probably what I might do. I just didn't for this just because I didn't want it to be a small business residential. So instead I made it a normal cafe, but of course you can always change it, and I will probably change it for my own personal use. Anyway, so for the building, I was kind of inspired by buildings in New Orleans since Willow Creek is based on New Orleans. So I was inspired by lots of those buildings, that style, lots of those old French Quarter colonial kind of styles. I don't know exactly what they're called. I don't know exact styles or building architectural styles that are in New Orleans. I just know generally what they look like, and yeah, I was just inspired by that. I was trying to make it look very different from the Newcrest downtown that I made, since I think like the Newcrest downtown I made was very more generic Americana, kind of like just a normal small town. This one is more inspired by New Orleans, even though it's a little similar, but I think it's just different enough to be unique. I don't know if I'm going to have the other buildings be sort of split off into sections like this. I might, but I also might not, just because I feel like that might get confusing. And especially because I don't know exactly how this is going to function. I don't know if Sims are going to be in both venues at the same time, or they're going to be in only one or in the other one. I don't know exactly how this is going to function. If you really wanted to, you could probably just close off one section if you didn't want to use it by getting rid of the arch doors and making them just normal doors. But that's all up to you. With this build, I didn't use minimal packs. I usually do minimal packs, but for this one I didn't, just because I didn't want to. So yeah. But no, because I didn't want to limit myself with this, especially since I wanted to use some kits. And if I use some kits, I feel like that's kind of difficult to do minimal packs. So I was just thought I might as well do not minimal packs. This build is definitely going to be in my save file though, so if I do end up making that, I will be making a base game version of that if I do end up making a base game version of a save file. So I don't know if I'll record a video of me doing that, making a base game, or if I'm just gonna do it and then just put it out there. But we'll see. That's also not for a long while. I'm probably not gonna make that anytime soon. The primary kit that I used for this pack was the Cozy Bistro kit, because I think it plays in well with the whole French New Orleans cafe vibe, even though it's supposed to be a bistro, but like, who cares, it's a cafe or whatever. I especially thought that the paintings that came with the kit were very useful with this build, because I thought the decals that were in the paintings were really cool and very vintage and really gave that sort of vibe that I was trying to go for. Anyway, so I mentioned earlier that I sort of didn't end up doing the whole cafe on one side and then the bakery on the other, which I could maybe try to change it. Probably not in the video, but maybe I'll try to change it around to see if I could do that. But I think it's fine how it is, although I don't know exactly how it's going to function, so I might playtest it. It might be cool to record playtesting the builds, so then it kind of gives me an incentive to playtest them, because I never really playtest them, but then that kind of ended up with an issue on one of my other builds. On the enchanted fairy cottage build I made, there was an issue with the vines and the doors or something, so it made it so that Sims couldn't really route to certain rooms inside the house. So that was annoying to fix. Well, I didn't really fix it, but I left a comment on the build. And if you download the build, make sure to delete the vines that are above the doors. But yeah, I left a comment there, and that's a bit unfortunate. So yeah, sorry about that. I'll probably playtest this build, although probably off camera, but if you'd be interested in seeing me playtest it on camera, that might be a cool thing to add to the end of the videos, although that might add to the length of the videos, and I don't want these videos to be too long, so we'll see. But comment down below if you would like to see that, because of course, if you want to see it, I'll be sure to show it to you, I guess. I mentioned the little bar decoration that comes with Love Struck in another video, but here I used it and it is very, very useful, and it's so versatile, and I really like that little bar decoration. I'll probably point it out to you during the showcase, but yeah, I really like that bar decoration. I also like all the clutter that comes with the kitchen clutter pack. Is it the kitchen clutter pack? I don't know exactly what it's called. I don't know what all the kits are called. There's too many of them. But it's like the one with the kitchen stuff, and then along with the bistro stuff, it kind of fits in well together to make a whole cafe, eatery, restaurant kind of vibe, and I really like it. It not only works well in the kitchen, it also works well like out on the cafe counter, because they can put all the different shelves and stuff in the back that have all the different foods and containers and stuff, and I think it looks really cool. I like imagining that some of the containers have like coffee grounds or tea leaves or whatever, although none of them are dark enough or like brown enough to be coffee grounds, but I could imagine like sugar or cinnamon or whatever else you put in the coffee. Come to think of it, it would also work well in like an ice cream shop or something, since you could have all the containers in the back and pretend they're like all the toppings and stuff. I might make an ice cream shop, although it might be combined with other shops too, but we'll see about that. Let me know what builds you might want to see me make, since I'm always down for suggestions. Anyway, so I want to tell a little story about why I wanted to build this cafe. So the New Orleans part is very typical. I wanted to build a New Orleans cafe in the New Orleans world, because I was trying to make Willow Creek kind of like a New Orleans southern suburban world. But the other cafe, the one right next to it, which I'm going to call a Cuban cafe, I made it for one of my Sims who I am imagining might own this cafe. So I made this one Sim who I initially made to play with Lovestruck when it came out, but then I started using this Sim with like all sorts of other stuff. So I used him for the Reaper's Reward event, and then I used him to play with Get Famous, although that came out a long time ago, but I decided to play with Get Famous because I haven't really played with Get Famous that much. And then I also used him to play with the Life and Death pack that came out, which was right after the Reaper Rewards event, so that was kind of made sense. I mean, it was just the same family, but anyways. So now I have this one Sim, and he has a really high cooking skill because I did that for the Reaper's Reward event, which required the Sim to have a really high cooking skill. But then I was thinking, wait, if he has a really high cooking skill, maybe he could be a chef or something. And then I thought maybe he owns like a cafe or a little restaurant or something, so this is why I made that. So in my own personal use, I'm probably going to have this be a small business venue, and then he can own it and run it, and I think that might be fun. Let me know though if you want to see that as like a small little gameplay series, or even just a few videos, because I would be totally down to record that. I want to make some gameplay videos eventually. Right now I'm just sort of doing building, but eventually I want to be able to do gameplay series, and also not just for The Sims but for other games, although I don't know how much people would be interested in watching me play other games since this is a very Sims focused channel right now. But I do want to play other games too, not just for gameplay, but I also want to build in other games like Minecraft. That's kind of it. I guess Roblox too, some games on Roblox, especially Bloxburg, which I'm probably going to make some Bloxburg videos, which is very similar to The Sims, but on Roblox. So that's probably not that different from this audience. This audience might still like that. It's still building, but it's a little different because it's on Roblox, but you know. Anyway, so for this Cuban cafe part, I had it very crowded at first, but then I got rid of a bunch of tables and stuff because I was afraid that the Sims might not be able to sort of route around all the tables. And I thought that might be difficult, so I was just like, okay, whatever, I'm just gonna delete some of the chairs and tables. I wanted to make that side very colorful, so lots of warm colors, but then also some bright blues and stuff, or turquoise, which I think brings in a sort of cool feel that kind of brings in what I'm trying to do with that cafe part. I think it's interesting how I used to be able to build really big builds on the 30 by 20 lots, and they would feel like completely fine. But then now for some reason, whenever I build on a 30 by 20 lot, it feels too big, if that makes sense. Especially for commercial builds, because I used to build on 30 by 20 lots and 20 by 15 lots were too small. But then now the 20 by 15 lots are just the right size, and then this one I had to split into two sections to make it sizable enough. That might also just be my own thing. Like I'm probably just crazy or something. I don't know. Because I built my Oak Brews Cafe in Newcrest. I built that on a 20 by 15 lot, and I thought that was a really good size for the cafe. But I had originally built that on a 30 by 20 lot, and that was also a good size for the cafe. But then when I look back at it, I'm thinking like, wait, no, it's not. It's too big, and it's like there's not enough room for everything. It's just like it's kind of interesting. I mean, I could probably fit this lot. I could probably make it a little bit bigger and just fit one of these on this lot, but I didn't do that and I decided to sort of split it into two sections, so that's what we did. Might also help if I didn't use all of the lot edges because I only left like two tiles of empty lot space and I used almost all of the rest of the lot, so maybe that also is why it might be too big or too small. So I used a few packs for this build, and I didn't try to use too many packs, but I did use a lot more than I usually do. I might go back in and see if I can get rid of a few packs, like change out a few objects if I only use like one or two objects from one pack, just so then it might be easier to be able to download or use. But I also might not do that since I don't want to keep doing things that are just so minimal pack build that I just have to get rid of everything and just use the same base game stuff over and over again, which I mentioned in my last video that base game stuff's repetitive, but regardless, we'll see what happens. I'll let you know by the showcase. I think it's really weird how The Sims sort of put cafes and restaurants into separate packs for some reason. Like, why didn't they just come with the base game? I think those are very generic or quintessential lots that people would be able to use normally and people would want to make, but they didn't make it like that, and I think that's kind of weird. I mean, I know why they didn't. It's probably because they wanted to sell people packs so then they could build these venues, but I think they shouldn't have done that. I think cafes and restaurants at least should be base game. Because I remember when I first started playing The Sims 4 and I wanted to build a restaurant, but then I couldn't because there was no restaurant venue type, so I had to make it like a lounge or something instead. And that's kind of a weird workaround, and I was just like, why not just be able to make a restaurant? Instead, you need to buy an entire pack for it for some reason, and that's the entire purpose of the pack. It's just restaurants. They're literally selling you a venue type as a pack for $20. That's kind of, I don't know, that leaves a bad taste in my mouth. Anyway, so for this building, I added a bunch of vines and stuff to it because I was trying to make it feel very overgrown, very vintage and old. I don't know if overgrown is very vintage, like the building is vintage. Would you call a building vintage? I don't know if you would call a building vintage, but I'm calling this building vintage because it's vintage and it's old and it's overgrown in vines and I think it looks cool. There's also a debug plant that comes from the base game, and I think it's a really old plant. I mean, obviously because it's from base game, but it's a weird asset. But I really like it because it looks kind of like azalea bushes. Because the ones that come in the actual Build By catalog, they're called azalea plants. To me, they don't really scream azalea to me. They just seem more like generic flowers. These ones look more like azaleas to me, although I might be biased because they look more like the Minecraft azaleas. So maybe I'm just biased because of that. But I like them, so I put them in right there. If you don't know which bush I'm talking about, I'll be sure to show it in the showcase since I'm kind of bouncing around all over the place in the screen right here, so might not be able to get a good look at them. This is the kitchen. I made it very kitcheny, as in it feels more like a house kitchen than like a restaurant kitchen, but I thought it looks good anyways, and I definitely like all the decorations that I eventually put down there, so I definitely put all like the kitchen clutter stuff and all the containers and stuff, and it looks really cool. I just thought of this literally like right now, but I think eventually when I get enough of an audience of people so that people are watching my videos regularly, I might do some polls or something so then people can vote on what my next build will be or something like that. I think that might be fun, although that's probably not for a little bit of time. Although, if you do want to see that happen, be sure to subscribe so then you can stay up to date with all my videos and my channel, and also contribute to making that happen. So yeah, be sure to do that. I keep talking about the kitchen clutter stuff, but I need to talk about it again because it is very good with the dine out stuff, which also comes with some kitchen clutter stuff, but it looks really cool and it works well with the other stuff because I had that, all those containers and stuff, and also the kitchen clutter stuff came with those jars of random stuff, but then the dine out stuff also has stuff like jars with stuff with different things in it, especially that chili jar, which I think looks really good with the rest of the jars because they kind of fit in together and kind of add on to the whole kitchen clutter, whatever's. I had to take a break in between making the downstairs and the upstairs because I really had no idea what to put upstairs. I decided to put a cupcake machine upstairs because that's what you do when you don't know what to do with the space. You slap a cupcake machine on it. Empty room, cupcake machine. Empty corner, cupcake machine. Empty yard, cupcake machine. Empty shed, cupcake machine. Cupcake machine, cupcake machine, cupcake. I can't say that. You try saying cupcake machine multiple times really fast. Please tell me if you can do it or not, because I can't do it. Cupcake machine, cupcake machine, cupcake machine. Yeah, I don't know. Cupcake machine, cupcake machine, cupcake machine, cupcake machine. Wow, with the power of editing, you can do anything. Anyways, that was weird. Let's talk about something else. So, this room is kind of just like a private dining area, although it's not really private since I'm sure Sims will just randomly go up there anyways. I'm imagining that if you have like a party or an event or something, you could probably host it up here, but I don't know exactly how that works. I've never really hosted an event at a lot. I don't really do a lot of stuff because I always say like, "Oh, I'm gonna make a room or a building do this," but then I'm just like, I don't know if it's gonna work like that because I guess I just don't have that as much experience doing that. I'm more of a builder than a player, although I do still play The Sims. It's just I build more than I do play The Sims. Although, isn't building still playing? You're just playing it a different way. Aren't we all just playing a game? I mean, if you play this game, then I guess you are, but you know. Anyways, so for the upstairs area, I just really was just putting a bunch of stuff down that I just I didn't really have a purpose for it. I don't know, cause like I made the entire downstairs, but then I was like, okay, I'm done with the downstairs. Everything's there, everything's good. Okay, time for the upstairs. What do I put there? I already put everything downstairs. There's nothing I can put upstairs. So you know what I decided? Cupcake machine, some random setting area, and a hallway with some plants. That's another thing. If you have an empty space, put a plant down. Empty corner, put a plant down. That's you just put plants down if you have an empty space. That's just how it works. Plants, random miscellaneous object, and a chair. That's what you do in an empty space. You put a chair, a plant, or a random miscellaneous object. Anyway, so for the cafe upstairs, I decided to do like this little sitting area. So it's not like a table or anything, it's more of like a little lounge. So there's couches and then there's a fireplace. And then I also made a little study area. So I put some bookshelves there and a desk. So I don't know what you could do with that. You could probably do something with that, but you decide what to do. I gave you the tools, you use them. I don't know what to do with that. I'm probably gonna delete the upstairs in my own personal use and make it into an apartment or something. I just didn't really want to make that into an apartment for the build, but you are free to do that as well if you want to do that too. I might have that one sim, the one that I was talking about earlier, the one that's supposed to like own the restaurant and stuff. I might have him live there, might have a different sim live here. I don't know, we'll see what happens. And again, if you'd like to see that, be sure to comment down below. Anyways, we're reaching the end of the speed build, so be sure to stick around till the end so you can see the showcase. Alright, I'll see you there. So yeah, here's the final cafe build. And yeah, it looks pretty cool. I like how it turned out. I think these look very New Orleansy, if that's a adjective. But I think they look pretty cool, and I think they fit in well with Willow Creek. And then eventually I'm gonna redo all the rest of these downtown build areas. So stay tuned for that when that happens. Actually, let's go on this one first. So this is the New Orleans French cafe kind of build. Build more like a area, I guess. I don't know if these two builds classify as two builds. They're two buildings. Do they classify as two builds? I don't know if they do. They probably are don't. They're probably the same build. Anyways, so here is the cafe area. This is the cafe counter, and this is where you can order all your stuff, all your little baked goods and all that stuff, and your coffee. I think it looks kind of cool. And then I like these bakery counter things that come from the businesses and hobbies pack, but I didn't fill them up, of course, because this is in build mode, so you can fill them up yourself if you want. And then I like all these little jars and stuff that come with the kitchen clutter stuff. They are really cool. And then I put them all on this shelf that comes from the Cozy Bistro kit. And then I also really like these little milk cartons because they work well with the cafe because you could imagine they have all these milk cartons. Although I'd imagine they might have them in a fridge and not just on the shelf. because I feel like they would spoil really fast. But it doesn't matter. We're gonna pretend that they don't spoil. And then here is the Cuban Cafe. Very cute. This is a bar, so it's not a coffee. It's not a cafe counter. Uh, but if you want to make it into a cafe counter, you can. And then lots of chairs, lots of tables, lots of flowers and plants everywhere. Wanted to make this really cool looking, very aesthetically pleasing, I guess. I have these from Lovestruck. These are some cool wall decorations. I think they look cool. And I also got this, which I think is really interesting. I tried to put this into the New Orleans French cafe, but it didn't really end up working that way. So whatever, it's fine. And then here's the kitchen, and here are all the clutter objects that I was talking about. So these ones, these chili these chili jars, I guess, these come from Dine Out, and I think they work really well with all the rest of this stuff, which comes from the kitchen clutter stuff. Not stuff, it's a kit. Yeah, it's a kit, and everything is really cool, and they work well together. And then we have all these little, like these pickle jars, and I think that's like pasta or something, and those are carrots. I think these are pickled carrots actually. That's pretty cool. And then we have all these other containers and canisters and whatever, and I think they work really well in this little kitchen area. And then I have this little thing of pots and pans and the stove and the refrigerator and the dishwasher. And then let's go upstairs actually. Yep, I'm just crawling up the stairs. Anyways, so here is the upstairs area. It's kind of empty. I just put like curtains and plants around to just make it look a little less empty, but it is kind of empty. And this area is kind of empty too. I don't really know what the purpose of this area is for, but it's kind of just a little room that connects into the cupcake machine, which there's nothing else in this room except for I guess these cabinets. So I guess you can store all your ingredients and stuff in here and then put them over here into the cupcake machine and you can make cupcakes. Oh my god, I can't say cupcakes. I also imagine that maybe you could make this into a club area if you wanted to, so that's also why I put it up here. But yeah, you can make like a baking club or something. That might be cool. And then here's a private dining area. It's a really nice room, I think, and lots of paintings and decorations around. Yeah, I would love to like have dinner here. This is a nice place to have dinner. And then here's a balcony. There's nothing really out here. I guess if you wanted to, you could put something out here, but I didn't, and it's fine. And then here's another balcony. Also a bit empty, just a bench here. And it looks out onto the patio, which we'll go to next. I think we'll just jump off of here because I don't need to. Yeah, okay. I don't need to go downstairs again. Here is the patio. There's little stairs right here. I should probably add a path there. Might do that. I'll do that right after this. And then leads into this little patio area here. Pretty cool. You can have your Sims sit out here, enjoying the Willow Creek scenery, the nature, all that stuff. I added an oak tree to sort of just like provide a canopy, and then I also put a willow tree because it's Willow Creek. That makes sense. And yeah, this is the Cuban cafe kind of side, and then this is the French New Orleans cafe kind of side. And these are the azalea plants I was talking about. I think they look pretty cool. I don't think I did. I thought I added more plants here. Maybe I didn't. I'll probably have to fix that too. There's probably a lot of things I have to fix. Yeah. Anyways, so yeah, there's the azalea plants. They're pretty cool. Um, they're in debug. I think they're azaleas. They might not be azaleas. Um, they look like azaleas to me, but I've also never seen an azalea plant, so I might be just crazy and going off of Minecraft. And then let's go upstairs here. And this is the upstairs for the New Orleans Cafe. And yeah, it's just pretty basic, kind of empty. I know, I actually came up with a different idea for this literally right before I started recording, but I didn't want to rebuild it since I already recorded all this. But I was thinking of making like a little antique bookshop, or at least just like a little bookshop up here. Um, like you wouldn't actually be selling books here, I guess, unless you have like a small business and some you can do that in a small business. But I was just imagining there could just be a bunch of little bookshelves up here. So I might actually do that instead of this, because this is kind of basic. There's not really any use for this. It's just here to fill up space. here too. This could also be a part of the bookshop though, so I might actually change it into a bookshop. Um, I think I might actually do that. So you'll see if I do that by the time I upload this to the gallery. And yeah, and then I also added these flower pots, these hanging pots from Debug, because they're a part of the Debug and base game, and they're really cool and they're very fitting to New Orleans. The only issue with them is that if I zoom out a lot, the flowers disappear, which is kind of annoying, but it's whatever. It looks good anyways, at least from up close. Yeah, so I think that's kind of it for the build. Thank you for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe and do all those fun YouTube things. Be sure to watch the rest of my videos if you haven't already. Yeah, and I'm excited to be making more videos, and I hope you stick around to watch them. Alright, I hope to see you in the next video. Goodbye!